Home health tips. Let's talk about Oasis and ADLs, GGs and M1800s. I know they're everybody's favorite. I work in home health, clearly not always in the field, and I provide tips and tricks and also advocacy tips for the healthcare system. Follow me if you wish. If I'm being completely honest, and I'm always honest, I find that the registered nurses have a really hard time with this. And once you get it, it is easy. But it takes a while, and to get the correct representation of the patient's status in order to be able to get what the patient needs can be difficult. These sections assess the usual functional performance more than 50% of the time, rather than their best or their worst. So you can use all available assessment strategies, okay? Observation, interview, collaboration, to determine the level of assistance and avoid the activity not attempted code. You really want to avoid that unless it is truly impossible to complete. So you know you're using the 6-point scale. Ranges from the 1 most dependent to 6 most independent. And I'm going to talk about that more in just a minute. So I think a lot of the nurses will go, they may think, oh, well, the patient can't try this or they can't try this. You use what you can. You want to see as much as you can, but it is observation. It's interviewing with the family who sees how the patient gets around and knows their limitations more than maybe like one visit at a start of care might show you. You have all the patients who don't want to use their DME, right? But then they walk around the house like grabbing everything. So you have to be able to not only gather the information from that day, which could be a really good day or it could be a really bad day, and also gain from the collaboration with the family to find out more information. I personally find that most nurses will document a patient as more independent than they actually are. That's kind of what I see most of the time. And what I try to educate when I am teaching somebody this is, if you are documenting a patient as a 05 or an 06, why do we have therapy? What is really, I could benefit from somebody being a standby to me, especially when I wear heels or a 5 or a 6 is not an indication necessarily for 8 visits of physical therapy. So if you are coding that, then you have to think through, okay, is therapy really indicated if this patient is independent standby? Really, most people over the certain age is probably much closer to at best a 4. But this is how I tell the nurses when I am teaching and training. Start from the bottom and go up. So if you start at the bottom, fully dependent, and you're going to go, you assess this patient, you're going through and you're going, well, no, they're not fully dependent. Let me go up. Let me go up. And as you're going up, you're more likely going to stop and be like, oh yeah, the patient really does need this or need that, because also it's all about safety, okay? This is not what they did. If the patient goes into the bathroom and you're assessing all of what they're able to do, just because that patient was able to do that without falling in front of you does not mean that it's safe. Is the patient capable of putting on shoes independently? Maybe they do it. Maybe they do it in front of you, but think about the shoes, okay? Are they slipping on their slippers? What about when they go to church and they have to put on a pair of shoes and tie them and bend over? What is the safety risk there? And that's how you are determining what to document. Bottom up. Because if you start from the top and you go down, you're more likely to prematurely stop. You're more likely to go, oh yeah, okay, that, and then move on. Whereas if you went down again, you might have seen that, no, actually that, it's a 3 is more accurate, but you stopped at a 4 because that was pretty accurate. Whereas if you go from the bottom up, you're going to less likely do that. You're going to see, okay, no, that's definitely, okay, no. And if you get to a 3 and you go, oh, yeah, they really need that kind of assistance, then you stop. You're not going to go greater independence from there. You're going to stop at where that patient is. I hope that's making sense. It greatly helped me, and it really does help a lot of the nurses out there who are learning this to be able to go from the bottom up instead of the top down in order to try to document to the best of our ability what the patient's functional ability really is.